A regular event at UN climate summits is a special presentation by indigenous groups or representatives from the developing world warning that climate change is a threat to their way of life.
The world leaders have to be more aggressive and rapidly keep fossil fuels in the ground. That's bottom line.
Talk to leaders from the developing world, however, and you hear a different concern: how being forced to use green energy will make it even harder for millions to escape poverty. Uganda's president wrote in the Wall Street Journal that Africa can't sacrifice its future prosperity for Western climate goals. Africa will have to use fossil fuels as it makes the transition. In Ghana, Peter Bismarck with the Institute for Liberty and Policy Innovation says what Africans need most is reliable energy, not what he calls diversity, his term for green energy.
Africans are basically not interested in the diversity. They are much interested in the efficiency and the reliability of energy before they look at diversity.
Vijay Jawaraj of the CO2 Coalition says it's the same situation in India.
In a country like India, if you see, there are more than 300 million people in poverty. And for them to come up in life, there has to be an overall economic development in the society. And that can happen only when there is a robust energy sector.
One critic said the idea that some of the poorest people on Earth can suddenly switch to hydrogen-based green technology is absurd.
Remote areas of within African countries are much interested in getting anything to light their refrigerators and charge their phones and watch television.
Not only do wealthy nations want developing nations to switch to green energy, they're forcing the issue. The U.S., Britain, and European nations have vowed to cut off public financing for new fossil fuel projects by the end of the year, including those in developing nations, even as wealthy nations continue to use fossil fuels, including African natural gas. Magat Wade is director of the African Center for Prosperity.
What's the difference between you, German, who when you need fossil fuels and you realize you still need it, you're going for it, yet you're telling me, the Africans, we can't do it? Is it because I'm black? Is it because we're idiots? Is it because we're inferior? We want to become prosperous nations. We want to become prosperous people. But for that to happen, access to reliable and affordable energy is central, is key.
The reality in developing countries is that the situation here is far worse than what is being portrayed in the media in the West. The countries here are already struggling to keep up with the energy demand. And for them to experiment with green technologies would be not so wise, especially when people are still living in the dark. Hospitals are still struggling to get an electricity connection, and when we live in poverty.
Sudanese-British billionaire businessman Mo Ibrahim, in a conference call this year with European Union leaders, said that Europe's refusal to fund fossil fuels in Africa is morally indefensible.
We found it, a little bit strange when Europe is wallowing in gas, Russian gas, African gas, putting gas projects everywhere. And when it comes to Africa, no. You are using African gas and you're denying us to use African gas. I mean, that is morally indefensible.
The experts we talked to said they would welcome green energy if their nations could afford it and rely on it. But they can't. Forcing it on them now amounts to what some are calling green colonialism. Dale Hurd, CBN News.